The Haas family is enjoying a day at a lake near their home. Rudolf Haas and his wife, Hedwig, watch as their children swim. The boys are happily swimming while the girls pick wildflowers. After a while, the whole family walks back through the forest to their cars, ready to head home. That night, everyone prepares for bed, but Rudolf seems deep in thought. The next morning, his two sons blindfold him and lead him outside for a birthday surprise. They have bought him a kayak, which makes him very happy. He thanks his family for the wonderful gift. Suddenly, gunshots are heard in the background. Meanwhile, Hedwig is in her garden with their baby daughter. The little girl reaches for the flowers as her mother points them out and names each one. Later, a Jewish prisoner arrives with a wheelbarrow. He takes a sack from it and hands it to a servant girl. Inside are canned goods and clothing. Hedwig takes the clothes and lays them out on the table, telling the girls they can each pick one piece. It's obvious the items were taken from prisoners. Upstairs, Hedwig tries on a fancy fur coat, clearly stolen from another camp victim. In the pocket, she discovers a tube of lipstick. She gives the coat to one of her servants, saying it needs to be fixed. Later, she tries the lipstick and likes the color. Haas comes home from his duties and leaves his boots outside. A prisoner quickly picks them up and starts cleaning them. Haas's superiors arrive to discuss business. Meanwhile, Hedwig has friends over for lunch. They joke about the prisoners and the clothes they've managed to get from them, laughing together. Hedwig even mentions one prisoner who tried to hide diamonds in a toothpaste tube. One of Hedwig's female servants nervously pours a shot of alcohol into a glass and leaves it outside for Haas. Haas meets with an architect who presents plans for a circular crematorium oven. This design allows one side to burn bodies while the other side cools, making it possible for continuous burning. Haas is impressed by this efficiency and thinks it would be a great idea for Auschwitz. When he goes outside to enjoy his drink, all the guards at the camp greet him and wish him a happy birthday. Meanwhile, his younger son plays with toy soldiers while his oldest son, Klaus, puts on his Hitler Youth uniform. Klaus then goes for a horseback ride with his father. As they ride, Haas mentions he hears the sound of a heron. In the background, guards can be heard shouting at and scolding Jewish workers. Later, Haas celebrates his birthday with a cake surrounded by his family. Later that night, Haas steps outside to smoke a cigar. In the distance, the crematoriums are seen billowing smoke and fire. At bedtime, Klaus is examining something in his bed. When his younger brother asks what he's doing, Klaus replies that he is looking at gold teeth. He inspects several of them while his brother makes annoying noises to bother him. Haas locks up the house when he finds one of his daughters sleepwalking, claiming she is ready to hand out sugar. We see footage in photo-negative night vision of a young girl collecting fruit and other food into a tarp. Haas reads a bedtime story to his daughters until they fall asleep. In his bedroom, Haas talks to his wife, who tells him that his co-worker Bracht will call him the next day. Hedwig excitedly talks about the spas in Italy and urges Haas to take her back there. Haas agrees but says he can't promise when they will go. The next day, we see a close-up of a soldier as another train arrives. We hear gunfire, screams, pain, and suffering. A voiceover narrates a report to Martin Bormann discussing a transfer that Haas is about to receive. The writer of the letter, Bracht, talks about Haas and his efficiency in dealing with the Reich's Jewish problem. He emphasizes how valuable Haas is for running Auschwitz, and that he should be allowed to keep his position. Haas takes two of his younger children out on a kayak with him on the lake. After paddling for a while, they stop to wade in the water while Haas fishes. Suddenly, he notices the water behind him changing color. When he reaches into the water, he pulls out part of a human skull. Realizing that the lake is contaminated with ashes from the dead, he quickly gets his kids out of the water. The weather worsens, bringing rain, and he ends up dragging the kids back on the kayak using a rope. Once they get home, the children are scrubbed down vigorously. Haas cleans himself up and blows his nose, coughing up ash. Haas tries to read while the radio plays, but he can't concentrate on either. Later, he receives a call in his office. Despite his reluctance and others defending him, he learns that he is being transferred away from Auschwitz to Oranienburg. Hedwig's mother comes to visit and is amazed by Hedwig's home. She mentions that many people are moving to the area because all the companies are here, referring to those using slave labor. Hedwig gives her mom a tour of the house, the garden, and the pool. She points out the camp wall, and her mother talks about a Jewish woman she disliked who outbid her for some curtains. Hedwig smugly replies that the woman is now on the other side of the wall. As they sit down to relax, Her mother congratulates her on her success. Hedwig happily responds, "Rudy calls me the Queen of Auschwitz." Meanwhile, Haas dictates a memo to the camp guards about the lilacs surrounding his house. He notes that they are meant to bring beauty to the camp, and anyone who takes too many will be punished. We see close-ups of several flowers accompanied by more gunshots, screams, and death. Later, the Haas family is having a pool party with several friends. Kids are splashing in the pool, and a young couple is making out. Haas, dressed in a white suit, oversees the festivities. In the background, another train of prisoners arrives. During the party, Haas finally tells his wife about his promotion and transfer, which means they will have to leave. Hedwig is furious and insists he should go all the way to Hitler to stop it. Haas, not wanting to argue, walks away. Hedwig storms through the house. One of her female servants stands frozen with fear. Hedwig sees a puddle made by her kids that is now wet from the pool and screams at one of the girls to mop it up. "You live well in our house," she yells, clearly threatening them with worse consequences. The servants quickly get back to work. Hedwig finds Haas at a nearby pier. He tells her he hasn't been given any reasons for his transfer other than structural changes and is just waiting to be told to leave. Hedwig firmly refuses to leave her comfortable life. She insists that Haas should request to stay at the house in Auschwitz with her and the children as a condition of his transfer. She explains that this is their home, where they have been living the ideals that Hitler promotes. Although she knows he will be working all the time and they will rarely see each other, she will miss him. She reminds him that after the war they can farm together like they always dreamed of. Hedwig's mother is outside sleeping in a lounge chair when she wakes up coughing from the smoke. Haas tells his children that he has to leave and that he will miss their birthdays and anniversaries, but their sacrifice now will lay the groundwork for the life they will have later. Later that night, Hedwig's mother tries to sleep, but the chimneys of the camp burn so brightly that they light up the sky. In that moment, she fully realizes what is happening in the camp and understands the high price her daughter is paying for her seemingly perfect life. The thought horrifies her. Haas bids farewell to his horse. He then calls the architect who designed the crematorium, telling him that the design is perfect for the camp and should be patented. A young girl enters his office, sits down, removes her shoes, and lets her long hair fall free. It's clear she is there to have sex with Haas to gain favor, or to try to prolong her life. Haas writes a memo accepting his transfer on the condition that his family can stay in their home in Auschwitz. He goes into the basement and washes himself so that his wife won't find out about his infidelity. Going back upstairs, Haas finds his daughter sleepwalking again and gently brings her back to bed. As he tells her the ending of Hansel and Gretel, we see footage of a young girl collecting food. She sneaks into the camp and hides fruit behind shovels for the prisoners to find and eat. Another train arrives at the camp as she carefully retrieves her bike and waits for the guards to pass. Once it's safe, she bikes back home and arrives without incident. The next morning, she plays a piece of music by a Jewish composer that speaks of their terrible struggle but ends with a message of hope. Meanwhile, at the house, Hedwig is having breakfast when she discovers that her mother left in the middle of the night without telling anyone. She finds a short note and reads it, but in anger, she burns it. Taking her frustration out on one of the servant girls, Hedwig threatens that if she wanted, she could order her husband to have the girl killed and have her ashes scattered in a field. Hedwig relaxes in the bathtub. Haas takes a final horse ride with his son, explaining his promotion and how he is there to deliver yield, meaning the highest number of deaths possible. In the backyard, a worker is tending to the greenhouse, and Hedwig offers him a cigarette. Haas's younger son is playing in his room when he hears a commotion outside. Two prisoners are fighting over an apple, and he hears his father order one of them to be drowned. The boy watches in horror as the man screams while being killed. "Don't do that again," he mutters to himself, not wanting to witness such brutality. We see workers tending to the garden, using the ashes of the dead as fertilizer. Haas arrives in Oranienburg for his new job. He attends a large meeting with other camp leaders, where he discusses the number of prisoners arriving at his camp each day, how many are put to work, and how many are killed immediately. He emphasizes his efficiency in getting the job done. His co-workers praise him, saying he receives fan mail from CEOs for the number of workers he provides. Meanwhile, at the camp, Haas's two sons are playing in the snow. Klaus traps his younger brother in the greenhouse while smokestacks continue to belch ash into the sky. Haas is given more responsibilities and is informed that he will report to Adolf Eichmann. As he leaves, one of his fellow officers expresses concern, but Haas reassures him, saying, "He won't put them all up the chimney, you'll get your workers." Haas goes to the doctor. While most of his bodily functions are normal, he feels off and has trouble sleeping. After the doctor's visit, he calls Hedwig to tell her that he will be able to come home. He mentions that he has a party to attend, but promises to call her afterward. Haas attends an elegant party filled with fancy food, drinks, and an ice sculpture of a swastika. Although he talks to a few people, Haas feels aloof and out of place, as if he doesn't belong. Haas calls Hedwig late that night and tells her that a new operation to eliminate all Jews in Hungary has been named after him. She asks about the party, and he admits that all he could think about was how to gas everyone in the room. For the first time, Haas openly mentions murder, not hiding behind technical terms. Tired and annoyed, Hedwig doesn't catch his slip and tells him she needs to go to bed. After the call, Haas leaves his office and starts to walk down the stairs, but he begins to dry heave, almost vomiting several times. He spits and tries to compose himself. Stopping on the second floor, he looks down a dark hallway and sees a small pinpoint of light. The scene cuts to the present day, where workers are cleaning the Auschwitz Museum, mopping, vacuuming, and cleaning the windows that display luggage, shoes, and other belongings of long-dead owners. What the Nazis tried to erase, the world now preserves. The horror of those acts must remain to ensure that the world never forgets. The film then cuts back to Haas, still staring down the dark hallway, seemingly lost in thought. He appears to have an instinctive bad feeling about what's to come, but shakes it off and pulls himself together. He walks down a final pitch-black flight of stairs and exits the building until he is no longer visible.